I think everyone can agree that apple cider donuts are one of the best parts of fall. Whether you prefer them as bite-sized wholes or larger donuts, there's nothing better than the cinnamon sugar-coated treat. That's why we turned the classic recipe into one epic dessert, an apple cider donut cake. Martha first demonstrated how to make this on her PBS show, Martha Bakes, and I'm so excited to show you how to make it from the comfort of your own home too. It may look like a lot of ingredients, but I promise it's super simple to make. Start by adding 2 cups of regular all-purpose flour to a bowl, 1 cup of whole wheat flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. Whisk until combined. Now we're gonna whisk together the wet ingredients. So I have 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 3 large eggs that I brought to room temperature. Bringing them to room temperature just helps them to incorporate evenly into the rest of the ingredients. 1 cup of apple cider. You know that I'm a huge proponent of using apple cider from a local orchard. This is the best time of year to do that. 3/4 of a cup of really good quality extra virgin olive oil. It's gonna not only add flavor, but lots and lots of moistness to this cake. 3/4 of a cup of applesauce. Again, you can often find this at a local orchard, so stock up. And then 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And just whisk until combined. So now all you need to do is whisk the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. So I'm just gonna pour this whole mixture right in and just whisk gently. You don't wanna overmix, otherwise the cake can become dry. So just whisk until you don't see any more flour clumps and the mixture is completely homogeneous. Perfect. So here I have a 12-cup bundt cake pan that I have thoroughly buttered and floured. I softened the butter a little bit in the microwave and then I used a pastry brush to apply it. You'll notice that bundt cake pans have a lot of nooks and crannies, and so it can become really easy for the cake to stick. So in order to get that perfect finish when you try to release the cake from the pan, really make sure that every area is completely covered with butter and then a thorough dusting of flour. And just use a spatula to pour the cake batter into the bundt cake pan. I like to twirl the bundt cake pan just to make sure that it gets evenly incorporated. Use a spatula to pour the batter in so that no little bit of this delicious cake batter goes to waste. It's too good to pass up. Now it's going to bake in a 350-degree oven for 45 to 50 minutes, rotating halfway through, and just insert a toothpick in the center towards the end of the baking process, which will tell you whether or not the cake is done. So the cake has finished baking. Doesn't it look absolutely beautiful? And you can see why it's so important to very liberally brush the bundt pan with melted butter and flour, because it really helps the cake to release. You don't get any cracks or breakage and you just get this totally beautiful finish. But what's an apple cider donut without a generous sprinkling of cinnamon sugar? So to bring that effect to this cake, start by brushing the cake with melted butter. And you want to do this while the cake is still warm because it will help to absorb the butter, and the heat from the cake will almost act as a glue for the cinnamon sugar so that it actually has something to stick to. So just brush all over, getting every nook and cranny. Don't forget the center of the cake. Now I'm going to sprinkle on my cinnamon sugar. So I have a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar mixed with half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Just use clean hands and sprinkle this all over the cake. If you get a little messy, don't worry about it. That's half the fun of eating cider donuts, right? And I'm gonna use my fingers just to kind of brush the cinnamon sugar down the sides of the cake, just so that it kind of evenly covers every side, every nook and cranny. And that looks so good. I can't wait to slice into this. In just a couple of hours, this showstopper dessert comes together. Our recipe says to wait until the cake has completely cooled to dig in, but honestly, I can't wait. I'm going right for it. Got a bite here. That's so good.